So when I was 14, I had a summer job, and that was my only job. The only job I ever had in my life. I'm 50 years old now, but when I was 14, this was my first job. I worked for the Cultural Gardens, right? This is the Cultural Gardens, and we would show up here around 8 o'clock in the morning. There probably was about 50 of us. We would show up here. We would get all of the tools, you know, like the rakes and all the different things like that. And then we had to walk. We walk a couple miles, right? We walk a couple miles, cleaning up all of the gardens that go down East Boulevard and Martin Luther King Boulevard. So again, we come here like 8 in the morning. It's like 80, 90 degrees, and then we walk for miles. You like cleaning up all of the cultural gardens along East Boulevard and Martin Luther King Boulevard, right? So I remember getting my check. I'll never forget it. So I get my check. So I worked 2 weeks. I guess that, you know, you work that 1 week in a hole, and then you get your check the following week, right? Get my check. My check was $37. I don't know what went wrong, but that's the last time I ever seen this place, and that was the last time I ever had a job. I knew I was worth more than $30-something, and so I found another route. But yeah, it's a great experience. So we would load up, get the tools, and then we have to walk the whole East Boulevard, 80 degrees. Imagine that. You're carrying tools, and we're walking the whole East Boulevard, cleaning up these gardens every day. And then they give you a check for $37. I wanted to hurt somebody. So I just quit. I quit. It ain't add up right. Look at that. Yeah. I'm out shooting content.
Voice out west, legendary self-made progress. Last time that I checked, first you get the money, then respect, then the power and the halls come next. Last time that I checked, I've been self-made from the dribble. I was self-made progress. Last time that I checked, first you get the money, then respect, then the power and the halls come next. Last time that I checked, I got the front in the bag. He on the way next.
When I was a kid, I used to carry bags at this grocery store for like a quarter or 50 cents. At the time, it was called Rogers Supermarket. That was a black man. A black man owned a chain of grocery stores. So I used to carry bags here when I was a kid. AKA, I always had that hustler spirit. Always. So this is Star Avenue. Miss Fannie Lewis used to live there. The councilwoman, Ward 7. She was amazing. It's the street I grew up on as a kid, Star Avenue. Yeah.
Does it look different from when you grew up here?
Yeah, it look a little different. This end, that end down there always had the better houses, the better houses, and it still look the same. That end down there, the better houses, still look good. Down here look a little suspect, but our house was right here. Our house is right here. My grandmother's house was right here on the corner. My grandmother's house is right here on the corner, so we live right across the street from my grandmother. Yeah, a lot of memories on this street, a lot of them. And my elementary school was right around the corner, Wade Park Elementary School. Let's shoot around there. Star Avenue. Yeah, so this is the street I grew up on, Star Avenue, right off 79th. My grandmother used to live right here. Grandmother lived right here. And our house was right where that boat is. Our house is right there. It's funny, I can remember one time when our water was cut off. And I had to carry buckets and jugs to my grandma's house to fill up, to transfer them back to my house. Wow, man, I was embarrassed. I also remember, I remember grandma, when we get in trouble, grandma would say, go outside and get me a switch. Like, that sounds crazy, right? They send the kids outside to get a switch so they can get a whooping with it. I remember that like yesterday. Like, you know, we had to go outside to get a switch, get whooped with the switch. I remember, like, you couldn't, like, when grown folks was talking in the house, like, you couldn't stand around while grown folks was talking. Yeah, that's wow. I remember going to my grandma's house. At this time, I probably was like 15 years old, probably like 15. I was like, Grandma, when I pee, it burned real bad. She's like, boy, you been messing around with them nasty girls. I had to go to John Glenn, at the healthcare spot, but that was crazy. I didn't know what was going on. If I knew, I wouldn't have told my grandmother. I was embarrassed like hell. Like, Grandma, I pee. When I pee, it sting real bad. I still remember my grandma's number. My grandma's phone number. It was 361-1617. I still remember like it was yesterday. It's funny, like time moving fast. I think I must have been, when we lived on Star, I had to be, because that was the second house we lived in on Star. The first house we lived in on Star was like 10 houses down. We stayed in a 2-family upstairs, and downstairs, the landlord, Miss Maggie, was the owner. She stayed downstairs. So I think when, as far as I remember, I had to be probably like 7 years old, something like that, 6, 7 years old. And we stayed on Star until probably, because I went to Wilson Junior High, I guess I was like 14. I think we moved from Star when I was 16. We moved from Star when I was 16. We moved on Corman Avenue off of 79th. And then I went to East High School. East High is right at the corner. But yeah, so this is where I grew up at. And yeah. So this is the elementary school I used to go to. This is Wade Park. Wade Park Elementary School. First thing comes to mind, I used to get bullied at school. I used to get bullied at school. I remember that like yesterday. And then one day, I decided to fight. And then all the bullying stopped. But yeah, Wade Park Elementary School, right around the corner from my house. Yeah, it was fun. School was fun until I remember I was in one of the smartest classes in school, major works class. It was like the smartest classroom in the school. But what happened, I got kicked out of the class because I got no support or help at home. You know, I didn't understand at the time as a kid, like all the things that my mother was going through. And so most of the time she was angry and just taking her frustration out on me. And so I didn't get no assistance at home with homework. I didn't even get acknowledgement that, you know, I was in the major works class. So I stopped focusing on school. They kicked me out of the class. And yeah, I started to go downhill from there. At that point, I started to look for the love that I wasn't getting. I started to look for that out in the streets. Out in the streets. Then one thing led to another. You know, you get hanging around the wrong people. I think I started selling drugs at 14. I was in detention home, went to detention home right when I started selling drugs. Went to the detention home. But yeah, I kind of spiraled out of control from there. I think that things would have been different if I would have had the support at home. But I don't regret my path because it made me who I am today. All those things I had to go through, it made me stronger and it prepared me for life. So here's my high school. East High School. East High School. One of my fondest memories from East High School. A couple memories. At the time, I had a friend that used to steal clothes. He used to steal school clothes because, you know, his parents couldn't afford to buy him school clothes. And I was on a strict budget. I think my tennis shoe budget at the time was $35. I remember buying a green and white pair of Nikes that was a size too small because that was the last pair they had. So my friend taught me how to steal too. So we used to steal clothes. We used to steal clothes in the 9th grade. And fast forward, I never made it out of the 9th grade, but I thought I did. So after the 9th grade year, the next year I go back to school. So I'm in homeroom, and so in homeroom, all the people in homeroom look new, and I'm thinking like, I should know these people. Like they came from the 9th grade, now we in the 10th grade, so I should know these people. I didn't know anybody, and so I raised my hand. I asked the teacher. I'm like, what grade is this? And he was like, this is 9th grade. That was the last time I've been in East High School. And so right across from East High School is 81st Street. 81st Street used to be one of the biggest streets in Cleveland to sell crack on. So I used to sell dope on this street. It was funny. It wasn't my dope at the time. I was working for people where they give me 6 rocks and I got to take them $100 back, and I keep one for myself to sell it to make $20. And you know, fast forward, I can remember the vice chasing me, and I got caught. And the funny thing, the vice, they was riding past looking at me, and I got nervous and started running. They was riding past looking at me, I got nervous, started running. I started running through that field over there. They got out, chased me down, caught me, put me in the back of the vice car, found the rocks that I had. Somebody noticed me in the back of the vice car, went to get my mother. My mother came around here going off. I wanted to go to jail versus going home with her. And so that was the first time I caught a case for drugs. And I went to the detention home. I think I stayed in detention home for like a week and got out. I had to go back to court. When I went to court, they gave me probation. And part of the stipulation for probation was I needed to go to summer school because basically I was failing in 9th grade. And so I was supposed to go to summer school. Went to summer school, getting in all kind of trouble, got kicked out of summer school. Go back to court for a follow-up. Went to jail. They sent me to Maumee Youth Center. And so I was at Maumee Youth Center for 8 months. That was my first time being away from home. I was 14 years old at the time. And so that was my first all-inclusive juvenile vacation paid for by the government. This gas station on 74th and Superior is owned by Noah Hutchinson, right? That's one of the most successful men that I knew growing up. A black man owning a gas station is huge. So I got a lot of inspiration from Noah. I always looked up to Noah. When I think of anybody on Superior in this neighborhood, an OG that stood on business, took care of his business, and inspired the whole city is Noah Hutchinson. Noah Hutchinson. So this is my junior high school. This is my junior high school, Wilson. I used to have to walk from 79th and Superior, no matter if it was 20 degrees or 2 degrees, 79th and Superior to 55th and Superior to go to junior high school. Wilson Intermediate Junior High School. Funny thing about junior high school, when I went to Wilson, my uncle Brian used to live with us, right? So my uncle Brian, at the time he had a Cadillac, but he dressed real good. He always had all the hip stuff, like the Fila jogging suits, Filas, like everything. So my Uncle Brian used to go to work at say he went to work like 6 in the morning, right? I would wait on my Uncle Brian to go to work, and I would go in his room, put on his jogging suit, his new shoes, to go to school fresh. And I would make it back home before he got off work to take off his stuff. So I used to go to school fresh with my Uncle Brian clothes on. And I used to go in his change drawer and get lunch money every day. Man, those are the days. Take a picture.
Real niggas first, family over money. Kingpin dreams, trap house jumping. Got my paper right.